Yep.
Okay,
Hopefully
go ahead
everything
and
will
take,
turn out great.
perfect. You go ahead and take us live and I'll admit everybody.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm excited to kick off. So hello, ladies. Welcome moms in real estate. Are sorry, my grandson decided to get very loud right as I decided to intro us. Um, so I'll start over. Hello, moms in real estate. We are so excited to be here for another one of our monthly meetups with the ladies of Real Social, Kim Mills and Whitney Abraham. If you don't know them, you are totally missing out. These ladies are powerhouses and they help our moms in real estate to build business authentically on social media. And so each month you get to join us in the Zoom room. So shout out to Monica for being here with her camera on and ready to go. And you can ask your questions directly. And then we also live stream into our Facebook group. So on that note, hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
We're so good. We're gearing up. We have a workshop, a virtual workshop tomorrow. And so Kim and I were going over it yesterday and we are like just itching jonesing. So we're in a good place today.
Is that the one that's open to everybody?
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, this is perfect timing. So can you give our group and our moms a reminder of what that is and how they can tap into that?
For sure. So we're hosting a 1 hour free live workshop tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern. So I realize that'll be really early for our West Coast girls, but it is being recorded. And we are going to spend an hour instead of only focusing on social, really thinking about the holistic marketing plan for 2025. And that's inclusive of social media, of email, of your community events, of personal outreach, right? So we're really going to help you plan what 2025 is going to look like so that you can actually stick to it instead of overwhelming yourself and getting caught up in the rat race of having, too much on your plate and not really being able to execute it.
And really, whatever it is that you're trying to do, that you're choosing things that are going to work for your business. Because I think there are a lot of shiny objects in our world of real estate. So we want to make sure you're picking the things that make sense for you and for the people that you're trying to attract. And then how do you make it even more impactful? So that's what we're going to talk about.
I love that. I made a rule in my business probably 5 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, to stop being my own disruptor because of that shiny object syndrome. I'm like, ooh, this looks good. Let's try this. Let's try this. And it actually works beautifully, especially for people that have sales pitches that I only open up in the fourth quarter for new ideas. So whether it's a new system, whether it's a new product, whether it's a new event, I only did bring that to in the fourth quarter, and then I marry it so that I can actually see a good ROI. So when you guys are talking about your event, I'm like, this is the perfect time to envision what you want that business to look like, lay the foundation, and then fricking marry it and do the work the next year, right?
I love that
Yes.
perspective about marrying it because, we talk so much about consistency and how important it is, no matter what your marketing strategy is, right? Whether you're talking about email or social or events or whatever it is, right? Like you have to stick with it if you want it to do something for you because doing something a couple of times is never going to create the recognition and the momentum and the ROI that you're looking for. So I love the marry it strategy. I want to marry the marry it strategy.
Yes.
Love it. I love it. I had to. I was horrible at that. But you know what? You just said something that was really powerful to me. Thank you so much, babe. I'm getting fed right now. Right now. Perfect time.
I mean,
I'm
can
so
we come
jealous.
over?
Well, we're at an Airbnb, and so whatever. I've got my little vibe going on here. But Whitney, you said something so powerful, which was consistency. The other day, I was thinking about this, and I have two friends, and they're both amazing. And I say this, completely with nothing but love. But it was a huge aha to me because they have both scaled tremendously on social. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of people, which, side note, we don't need that to sell houses, right? In real estate, we don't need hundreds of thousands of people, but they've both just done amazing things as coaches and influencers. And I say this again with love, but one just lost consistency and just kind of lost the drive and just kind of fell off. And the other one has just stayed consistent. And the other day I was just thinking about what that has led to and how much more business and opportunities and growth and profit that has led to. And I really was just sitting in respect of his consistency. I was like, he has done the dang thing, but he hasn't just shown up and done the dang thing once. He's continued to. And I think that that's one of the most powerful things. And I'm guilty. I am guilty right now. And missing the mark. And I think that's where agents miss the mark, is that they show up really well in increments and at times, but they miss being consistent on social. Can you talk about like how important that actually is?
Yeah, Kim.
Yeah. I mean, I swear this is kind of turned into my love language because it's not sexy. It's not like, I think people are looking for, you can say the shiny object or the magic bullet or whatever it is, and just in society in general. But when it comes to what we're doing, it is literally like the lather, rinse, repeat. That is not sexy. That is what sets you apart. And some people are willing to do that and some people aren't. And I think if you can really just double down on the things that you know you should do every single day that's going to move the needle in your business eventually, then you're going to be successful in this business. I think so many of us get stuck in the, well, if it doesn't happen immediately, then I'm going to switch gears. Like if this doesn't result in that me getting that listing or, me hitting X amount in production, then I'm just going to like burn it all and start over. And it's not how it works. This is a business where you're planting seeds all the time and you're fostering relationships. And that takes consistency, and it takes being the one willing to start the conversation, to continue the conversation, to show up in the conversation, even when you think no one is paying attention. I think that's the hardest part is you might think like, oh my God, why am I still doing this? Nobody cares. And they are watching, they are listening, they are watching, they're opening the emails, they're doing these things. You don't know when they're going to actually say something back, but you can't be doing it for that. This reminds me, I had this conversation yesterday with some athletes that I'm coaching, and it's like we get stuck in the result. Like we want the result. We just want to know that if A plus B equals C and C is the result I'm going for, that's all I'm focused on. And it's just not about that. You have to be willing to do the work and let go of the outcome and believe in the work that you're doing. And the outcome will come if you show up and do the work.
And I think one of the things that trips women up the most is that they pursue greatness, and that greatness actually keeps them from being consistent because it's so much work. So here's an example of how this looks when it comes to social. You work really hard to figure out how to edit that one specific reel that has a lot of transitions, and it takes you a really long time. And it was kind of exhausting. You're proud when the reel's done because you freaking did it, but it took you forever. And you're like, oh, I'm wrung out from that. Then the next time you go to create a piece of content because you went too big, you went too hard, now you're like, I don't want to. And so you don't show up. I would rather you focus on half-ass good. I would rather you show up every day of the week with just your face talking and no fancy edits, if that means that you can keep momentum and be consistent. So don't pursue greatness to the point of paralyzation where you're like, I can do this. I know that I can. And I'm frustrated with myself because I can do this, but I'm going to spend an hour doing it. And then I've kind of screwed myself out of the process of really gaining momentum. So maybe ease up on that whole, I want to be great and excellent thing, and just be willing to just show up as you are and watch what happens from that.
And be willing to like start small. Whitney and I talk about this all the time because we're, meeting with women who, like you just said, that they want to come out of the gate like on fire. And, we love that energy, but we also see this all the time. And I think when you're immersed in it all the time, you see how quickly that can backfire on somebody because they lose that steam, they get distracted by business and life, and then it takes them so much longer to show back up because they feel like they failed themselves. And so it's like, don't be afraid to start small. Like what we're going to talk about tomorrow is things that you can continue to grow. What we're going to talk about, you can start really little, you can start big, but you can build on it. It's all like blocks that you can, continue to grow as your business grows or as you just simply grow.
Yeah, that's so good. And I also love all the faces that have popped in here. Jackie, Christy, love your faces. On that note, so since you're in the Zoom room and you're the brave ones that have your camera on, do you have any questions that you want to ask Kim and Whitney around social? So fun little fact too, Jackie is like a freaking powerhouse, and she serves like rural Nevada. And I think, and I'm totally speaking for Jackie here, so she should speak for herself, but I feel like there's like a disconnect for her because she feels like maybe her market isn't even on social. And I would say if there's a market in the world not on social, it's probably Jackie's. But I would love to hear where you are on, like, you know, because Jackie's like a secret agent. Like she doesn't exist anywhere. She just sells a ton of houses. Jackie, how do you feel about social?
Oh, I hate social. I'm trying to get better with it. Trying to like, I'll go record a video and I'm like, it's so cringy. Never mind, delete. I'm done for the day. My brain block is horrible.
I will say I have such sympathy because most women, especially most women who are not used to showing up, they have that exact same experience where they're like, okay, I'm gonna try. And then they show up, hi, little buddy. They show up and they're gonna try, and then they look at it and they're like, oh, it's not the way I want to come across, whether it's just not professional enough or we don't like the way we look or whatever the thing is, right? And so I want you to know that if you're feeling that way when you go to create content, that you're not the only person that feels that way. And so what we have to work on are some really gentle boundaries that are going to help support you in the creation process to keep you in it, right? So maybe the first rule is we record it on stories and we post it and we don't watch it back. Whatever that
Right.
step is, that's going to give us momentum and force us to show up while we work on some of the internal narrative that we have to heal in order to be able to show up consistently.
And I also
I-
think we joke about this, but it's like we look like what we look like and we sound like what we sound like. And I think we are our own worst enemy at this. But like you walk in a room,
Right.
your friends love what you look like and they love listening to you. So just you gotta be nice to yourself
Mhm.
because
So
we are
funny
who
you
we
say
are and we sound like what we sound like, you know?
the other day I was watching a video of myself and I just realized I have like a lot. I had like a perfect stain on my hoodie, and I was like, "Who let me like shoot this video, let alone post it?" And then I was like, "Wait, that's pretty accurate. Like that's a big chest problem. Like I'm typically stained in the chest." So it's like,
Yes.
and so it's kind of like a reality working with me. There's probably going to be at some point a stain on my chest.
Randy, I call it the front porch. I catch everything on my front porch.
Yep.
That is all.
Oh my God. What if you don't have a front porch? What if it just falls on my shoes? The
Kim's got a
back
great
porch
back
problem.
porch.
Lucky
I have a
you.
back porch problem. No, I have a back porch problem.
Oh, I
Just
love
kidding.
that. Jackie, did you have anything to follow up with the ladies?
Mm, no, just working on that. I think like I got in the brain block. I had one seller, like they were the worst. And I just had the baby and I was breastfeeding and she showed up to the house and she went all the way to Carson and was talking in Ulta where people who know me were there. And she's like, yeah, that real estate agent, she was in her pajamas and a baby on her boob. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what people think of me. And so like the brain block started then and I was like, I don't know how to fix it.
You know, that's such a crap thing because like here you are in your home, right? Like there's nothing that you could have done to have changed that circumstance. Quite frankly, she was going to have an opinion no matter what
Oh
you
yeah,
did. And
very
so it just
opinionated.
stinks because so much of that's out of your control. But Kim's heard me say it once, she's heard me say it 1,000 times. It is not my business. What they are thinking about me or what they say about me is not my business. And I just like, if I ever hear a nugget of what somebody is saying about me out in the world, that maybe makes me feel like, ooh, yikes, that wasn't what I wanted. I'm just like, oop, not my business. I didn't hear it. I'm gonna go along with my life.
Like that.
Yeah, that's
It
good.
also
It's
means that they ain't your people.
yeah. Oh yeah, I learned that
Yeah.
one quickly. I was like, Hawthorne's super interesting because yeah, people just show up at my house because everybody they're like, oh, I just was gonna stop by because I'm interested in property. I'm like, oh no, no, call me.
It's Jackie actually serves the world, I think it's the world, or at least the United States largest army depot, right? So it's the United States
Yeah, we have
largest
the
army depot. I promise you, Jackie has a very unique market.
So they just pop on over, honey. I'd be like, I'm sorry, this is not the way that I do business. You don't get to just pop on over while I got a baby on my
I leave my
booby.
dogs in the yard now. I'm like, well, you're not gonna cross
Uh,
that. He looks scary.
Oh.
It's a
this
But I
needs to be
there
on
could be great
social.
social coming. There could be great social coming out of Jackie's world, right?
Yes. Yes, this needs to be on
Mhm.
social.
it's weird out here. People, yeah.
But I mean,
I
okay,
love
I
that.
know we're sort of laughing, but this is the thing is everybody has their story. Everybody has their slant on this. Everybody has their unique space. And I think this is where like you do need to own that, and you do need to feel confident in that this is where you are successful. And however you want to portray that, don't shy away from that. You're really good at what you do. And obviously you are. People are just stopping by. I'd be like, but I do think
So
you can have fun with it in a way that feels, obviously safe and comfortable and on brand. But I just think, I don't know if it's just as I've gotten older, it's like you are who you are and you have worked your ass off to have the story that you have. So tell it, because you are going to help somebody and you don't know who that is. But you not telling it, it's actually, you're just selling yourself a little bit short.
Yeah, I love that. That's good. Chrissy, do you have any questions that you want to ask Whitney and Kim?
Hi ladies.
hi, honey.
Hi.
Miss your faces and
Miss-
hugs.
I know.
Likewise.
Go back to Arizona just for like a day so we can all just be together again.
Sure, no problem.
I, I think well, I have a comment first. She said, like, you are who you are, your voice is your voice, all the things. But I came from being a teacher and I'm from the country and I had to change my voice. Like now that I'm not in teaching, I can notice like my little twang starting to come back a little bit more. And then when I'm not at home, I notice it's worse. And so like I finally I really had to work hard to not speak like how I normally talk, because the kids were like, wait, what did you say? Huh? Huh? We didn't understand. And so I really had to, for 10 years, change the way I talk. And I'm from a small town that only has 800 people. We're all country. And so for socials, I don't know if I have a question, but I am noticing that finally, I mean, I've only been in here a year or so, but it's starting to pay off because people are like, oh my God, I know who you are. And it just started happening. Like last week, I held my first hot girl walk for my first Connect and Cultivate. And this girl's like, wait, I know you. Don't I know you? And I was like, I don't know. Do I know you? And then I went to a, sip and stroll in our little downtown area. And another girl, I walked in, she's like, I know you. And I'm like, where do we know each other? Because you look familiar, but we don't actually know each other. She saw me on social media. And so the year of,
See-
13 months of hard work is starting to develop.
And so that's really the cool thing about people who are consistent and people who do give it the time for it to start, showing them, oh, actually there are legs here. Because I'm going to tell you that most of the people who are watching you will never engage with you online, but the minute they see you in person, they will reference the fact that they have been watching you. And so there's so much that's happening in terms of brand build and recognition and marketing that you're not seeing the immediate ROI in terms of numbers and engagement, but it's actually doing goodwill for your business. It will result later on down the road. And so I think it's a really good example of that. And just a funny note on this whole changing our voice thing, I resonate, and I know Kim can too, being a Southern girl who has bebopped around the States. Um, it's so funny how we think we can change our voice when really it's not that different. And my husband jokes at the minute that we drive over the border into Kentucky that
Yes.
it's like I flip the light switch. And
Oh,
oh
yeah.
my Lord, have mercy, everything is just so very much, it's so Southern, right? But the thing is, anybody who lives here in Columbus and hears me speak knows there's this thing. And so really what your audience is witnessing is you just being more you, because you're not trying to hide it and you're leaning into it. It was there. They already knew you as the woman who sounded like she was from a small town, right?
Yeah.
Now it's just we're not trying to hide it. And so that becomes a part of our brand, right? So rather than fighting the parts of you that you feel like make you different, what would happen if you embraced the parts of you that made you different and showed the world those things? You'd stand out. You'd be a category of one. We're so focused on trying to fit in and sound and look like everybody else. That's not going to help you win. What's going to help you win is being totally different, whoever you are.
Amen,
I
sister.
love that, Whitney, and it made me think it kind of something that Jackie said too. So Jackie, we were like, I didn't have my bra and I was in my pajamas. Like when I stepped into that and I became the agent that sells $20 million a year in real estate, braless and in my pajama pants, like I found my people. right? Like I found my people all across the board. And like I still am like, I guess I gotta put a bra on and go somewhere. Like, and I'm obviously respectful and I obviously want a professional brand voice. And so I use a little bit of tact and discretion, but the truth is like my person understands that I'm never going to show up fancy, even to sell their $1 million ranch, right? Like I'm going to show up in my flip flops and jeans. That's going to be my fancy, right? And so I do think that even what you're saying, Whitney, like with Christy, you just got to change the framework around the mindset where I can understand maybe in like an education setting to where you have to be a little bit more proper. That's the opposite in real estate. In real estate, it's our authenticity that's actually going to make us. And I literally just yesterday, there's an attorney in my market and she's got a spicy reputation. Okay, she's a man's attorney and she does some very interesting commercials where she shoots them, and so she's got a spicy reputation. But she just went live to share a voicemail, and she was like, guys, I just want to share this voicemail I got. And part of the reason she shared it was because she was like, this guy's accent is the cutest thing ever. And it was this Southern guy who just like saw her TED talk and just wanted to send her a message and just say thank you for what you're doing and all the things. But like for her, she probably gets that all the time, but like his accent actually just stood out to her and made the message that much more powerful. So it's like in social, we get to harness these things that differentiate us and set us apart. And that's actually what was maybe a weakness is now a strength. So I love that Whitney and Kim are encouraging us like to step into that and actually share that on social so that we become like we're, memorable, right?
And
we were just talking.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mm-mm.
Well, I was just saying, we were just talking yesterday about how, I think we feel like there are boxes that we have to play in. So when it comes to social, it has to be like highly produced and everything has to be perfect. And you have to have your like glam squad around. I mean, like who really has a glam squad? I do not, but if you want to donate one to me, I'll take it. So the reality is, as we go into 2025, what people really want, they just want you. They want you, your real self, and they want interesting. And so like, if you feel like you have to, show up as somebody else or like be the news reporter, guess what, guys? It's a whole lot of effort for zero results, right? Like it's just, people don't want that. And I think maybe there's a time and place for some of that, but I really think the more that you can just push yourself into who it is that you really are, who it is that you're really trying to attract, what language do they speak, what language do you speak, and how do you make that interesting, and how do you do that on the repeat, like over and over and over again? That's like the success formula. And again, it's not like there's not something super sexy or difficult about that. It's just being willing to do it.
So good.
Accent
so good.
and all.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. I know Christy and Tamika have their cameras on. Do you ladies have any questions? You guys get the first opportunity before we jump online and see what they're saying over there.
They're driving. Be safe.
Oh, yeah. Be careful.
Yeah, they're both driving. They're waiting. They're waving. They're gonna. Okay. But I don't want to mess it up. Raina? Am I saying it right? Like, is it Raina?
Yes, it's Raina. Sorry, I just wanted to introduce
Raina.
myself real quick. And I wanted to put my 2 cents in. Sorry, let me wipe this. I'm actually doing some dishes, so it got kind of foggy on me. But actually wanted to chime in on the whole accent for the other girl that was talking. I didn't catch her name. I find it charming. Whenever I hear somebody having an accent, I'm from Texas, so I don't have it like really, really bad, but some people will notice it, and they'll, because I say y'all and things like that, howdy and stuff like that. And when I hear somebody that has a country accent, I just gravitate to it. I find it very charming, to be honest. I wouldn't change that at all. So that's my 2 cents for her. And it's my first time joining Zoom, and I really enjoy it so far. So thank you guys for putting the effort in.
You are the cutest.
I know you have a great accent. You have so you remind me of my mom, because my mom, who speaks zero Spanish, is married to my dad, who has a very heavy accent. So she picks up his Spanish accent, but then she has her Southern twang. And so it's like this very unique, like Southern Spanish accent. And when you were talking, I was like, oh, I love it.
I do tend to mix a lot of the Spanglish in. So I'll start off with like full English, and then I'll just be like, pero, and then I keep going and I'll throw in like a word or two of Spanish, and then I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. They're like, no, it's fine. But yes,
I'm on the not rep board. Yeah, I'm on the not rep board, and I'm like, am I allowed to be on the not rep board? I'm a no Sabo kid, like, and so I think I'm
yes.
allowed to. But anyways,
So,
oh,
I mean, I
love that
don't
you
ever
did.
try to hide, I mean, I'm pretty sure I could be a little bit better, but I mean, it is what it is. So, I just go with the flow. And I'm barely starting to the social media and everything, because as social as I am with some people, I catch myself being a bit of an introvert, and I just feel like sometimes social media scares, like intimidates, in other words. It just intimidates me a little bit. So because I'm like, yeah, deep down I'm like, is my makeup good? Is my eye looking good? Like, is one eye looking smaller than the other? I think I see that. Like, I just start nitpicking everything by myself. And so I did like that you pointed out, just, the pajama girl. Who was the pajama girl? Somebody said that they were in PJs. I love that, just like be yourself. And that really attracts people, because the people we're watching like on social really are not. I mean, I don't watch any professional people. I'm watching all these moms in PJs and talking about everything. So yeah, I can resonate with that. I like that. And
Yeah,
I'll
and
use
There's a
that for
friend of
myself.
ours. There's a friend of ours in Columbus. She's not in real estate. She does at this. She has an amazing balloon business, and she sets up events everywhere, bajillion of them a day. It feels like. But when she goes on her stories at night, you guys, she's so consistent. I feel like she's always talking to us when she's like washing her face or she's like about to get into bed, and I love it because there is this vulnerability that she's doing that, and you feel like you're kind of like ending the day with her, and you're rooting for
Mhm.
her and you're cheering her on, and you know how tired she is, and she's either talking about work or her kids or the juggle we all are dealing with. And what I love about that is she's just really consistent about showing up like that. So she doesn't like, she's not doing this bait and switch on stories. Like, that is how she shows up on stories, because
Mhm.
like the rest of her day, she's like literally doing her business. Right. So I think, you know, Whitney and I always talk about like, find the alignment with your brand. Okay. You don't want to be like jumping all around and it doesn't make sense. But like,
Sorry.
if that's it for you, then show up like that and show up like that often and go with it, because people are going to resonate with it if that is really who you are.
And the thing is, here she is washing her face, literally in her flannel PJs, getting ready to fall into bed. And not one person is like, ooh, she's unprofessional. Ooh,
Ooh.
she's not good at her job. Like, all you have to do is look at her feed and see her work to know, like, dang, homegirl is good at her job. But they get to see the behind the scenes of her as the human being and really connect with what it's like to run a business like that. So, I mean, there's really great value. And I don't think it has to detract from your professionality for you to be able to showcase some of those less polished pieces of you.
Well, and Whitney and I feel like when if you talk with us for 1 minute or an hour, you're gonna hear from us that the whole point of social is the relatability, right? The whole point is for you to gain trust with people who don't know you yet quicker. And the way that you do that is you show up as yourself, right? Because if you are speaking with your accent, or you're showing how crazy your day was, or you're excited about something that your kids did, or you're really pumped about something that's happened in your business and you're sharing that with your audience, you're letting them in to like what's important to you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And they become a friend. They're like cheering for you from afar, whether they ever say anything to you or not. You have people rooting for you. But the relatability is what this is all about, because you can't do that through a mailer. You can't exactly do that through an email. It's not that those things aren't important, but there is something very different when you can connect with somebody based on what you're visually saying in a video to somebody.
Okay, ladies. So I know that you give us a half hour every single month, but I want to ask before we wrap up, is there any other questions? Anybody on the call? You have a question, you have a struggle, like Kim and Whitney's heart is that you don't go social alone, and they want you to win with this. And so this is your opportunity to like say what the hurdle is, get it out here, and get some good insight on it. We're just
So
going to
me
stare you all
again.
down.
Me again. I just had a quick question, or maybe concern, or maybe asking for a tip. Where to start? where do you start? What is the good starting point? Like, I don't want to just overwhelm people with starting off with 5 videos a day and, giving all this information. Like, what is a good starting point, and then start building?
Yeah, start in the stories. Start in the stories and see what you gain traction on, right? So just show your face in the stories, talk about what you did for the day, talk about some of the stories that you have with your clients, pay attention to what people are responding to. Those are clues of things that might work really well for your feed, okay? And I want you, again, remember we were talking about in the beginning, take your time. Don't overwhelm yourself and overload yourself to the point where you can't keep up cadence. Our number one rule is stay consistent with what you can commit to. So if that means posting 2 times a week, then it's 2 times a week. If it's 5 times a week, then it's 5 times a week. Kim and I are going to tell you right now, it's not 5 times a day. Mm-mm,
No,
mm-mm.
no.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Hey, tomorrow, are you going to talk about like scheduling? I'm just trying to figure out, my overthinking kind of gets out of control. And I guess, yes, where to start, which I've already started, but like, that fine line of nobody cares, but yet people do care. Like you could say nobody cares that you're washing your face at night, but then other people really connect with that. So I guess I'm looking at how many, like 3 times a week, and which days maybe pick up more attraction, or which time of
Yes.
day.
Yeah.
I can talk about that
Itch.
tomorrow.
A little bit. So specifically, when we get into the component where we're talking about hosting community events, we give you a really good outline of how much content and what those content pieces should do for community events. In terms of just your regularly scheduled content of like, I'm showing up however many times a week with content that helps build my business and brand awareness, that is really subject to the individual. And so again, we're going to tell you to lean on what you feel you can be consistent with and be conservative to start with. So that way, whenever you are, starting the process, you can build on that as you have more time and space and momentum. I think as a good rule of thumb, if you're starting baseline and you haven't done it before, trying to show up in your feed 3 times a week is a really approachable place to start. Okay. And then building from that point.
Thank you.
There are
And
not
use
printable
stories,
for
yeah,
tomorrow.
3 times a week in the feed. So those would be, like posts or reels, videos like that. But then just remember, treat stories like it's your open sign. Remember, stories are they're for people who are already following you. So let them into a little bit more of your journey, and try to be in stories every day if you can. It doesn't mean you have to post 10 pieces of content, but at least showing your face. They want to see it because they literally are already following you.
Mhm.
Well, this
Awesome.
is so
Thank you.
good. Ladies, this is so much value as always. And I would just add into, where you starting an engagement. I think a lot of times there's this misconception with social that like our job is to post, and we're guilty of posting and ghosting. And if you are not already engaging with the people that you're connected with, you're missing the buck. And so intentionally getting that engagement scheduled and starting to actually build those relationships will be a huge shift when you start posting. There will actually be people that want to engage with that because you're engaging with them. So I think that's really good. But all of that to say that obviously you guys are doing your big event tomorrow. So remind them, if they want to come to that event, how do they do that?
Yep. So we will post the link right here in the chat, and then you guys are welcome to join us. It's absolutely free. Feel free to share it with anybody that you think is in the industry that might be interested. It's 9:30 Eastern. It will be a virtual webinar, but it will be recorded for those of you that maybe can't make it at 6:30 in the morning if you're on the West Coast time zone. But yeah, it's going to be, honestly, it's one of our most impactful workshops that we do. We did it last year. It was such a hit last year. And so we brought it back with some updates this year of some things that we think are really important to keep in mind as social continues to change. But we're happy to see you there.
Love
Are there
that. Love
printables
that.
for tomorrow?
Say one more time.
What did you say,
Are
Christy?
there printables or anything for tomorrow?
No printables. So it's all going to be, us virtual teaching. And of course, there'll be a deck. So you can screenshot things if you're like, ooh, that's helpful. Yep.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Kim and Whitney. And as always, for Moms in Real Estate, we pop up every single month here with Kim and Whitney. So come here, ask all your questions, and get in the Zoom room with us, because that's where you obviously can move your business forward. So thanks, ladies. Bye, guys.
Bye, you all.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
y'all.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.